Let's talk to the political columnist at The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh. Morning, Trevor.
Good morning, Kevin.
What is the difference between Tory Deputy Party Chairman using the F word, saying that if these migrants don't like the barge, they can F off back to France, speaking for the nation, what people will be saying in the pubs, length and breadth of the country, and Diane Abbott yesterday tweeting about the 41 migrants who tragically drowned off the coast of Italy. They certainly effed off. They effed off to the bottom of the ocean. Yvette Cooper was, on a real moral high horse about what Lee Anderson said. Didn't hear anything from her about Diane Abbott's post. What's the difference between Tories or Labour people using the F word?
Well, I think the simple answer to that, Kevin, is that the Labour Party and its supporters would allow basically anyone who wants to come to cross the channel and come and live here at, in some cases, our expense. So you've got a situation where Lee Anderson is being reviled by the left for speaking for the nation, as you said. I think that 90% of the British public would say exactly the same things, perhaps couched in slightly different terms. But the impact of what he said reflected their view. And I think that the government, and indeed even the Labour Party leadership, is beginning to understand that this is a problem that they will have to solve one way or another. Now, we are blocked from actually taking the sort of action that we need to by sending people elsewhere when they come here illegally by this European Convention on Human Rights. And we will have to address one way or another whether we want to continue being bound by a convention which has outlived its original purpose, which was in order to look after the sort of aftermath of World War II. So this is a very big question, and I'm not sure that the Conservative Party is ready to grasp it yet. They're under huge pressure from most MPs, but there's a resistant group who will not allow it under any terms. So we've got a long way to go on resolving this issue.
Trevor, I want to get your take, obviously, on the Bibby Stockholm, the Dorset barge. Only 20 migrants on so far, 480 still to go. Why do we give these people money in the form of legal aid to hire immigration lawyers who make up lies about them? Oh, they're terrified of water. Oh, yeah, really? That's just a lie. So we're hearing, this also hasn't yet happened. About 2 days ago, the government said, well, you've got 24 hours to get on board, otherwise we remove government support. A lot of people, probably including me, would say, well, why do we give them government support in the first place? In France, if they're lucky, they get a tent. We shower them with generosity. So why do we do this? Why do we pay for their lawyers to make up lies and to tie up the barge in legal wrangles? What on earth is going on?
Well, you also have to ask a question about whether or not this is exactly the reason why they travel from Africa across several countries through Europe and all the way here and then take the highly risky journey through rough seas to get to Britain. Could it possibly be that these little luring aspects of British society and welfare are the real cause why they're all heading in this direction? I mean, we are, in fact, in their eyes and in many other people's eyes, perhaps the most welcoming nation in Europe in terms of immigration. The French and the Germans simply, and the Italians simply hustle them on out of their country, over their borders, and on their way to Britain. And the idea that France, in any serious sense, is going to suddenly say, OK, we'll stop them going, we'll start policing the beaches, and we'll start seizing these dinghies, that's for the birds. They don't want them in France any more than most of the people in this country want illegal immigrants coming here.
And as I say, I think it was now 2 days ago that the government announced, you get on board that barge or we remove government support. I'm not even entirely sure what that means, but presumably it might mean the cancellation. It was indicated that it would entail the cancellation of their applications for asylum. They get no chance of staying if they do that. The removal of the the benefits they get, obviously the free food and the accommodation. I mean, it does beg the question, then what do we do with them? However, the government, its initial bold statement, 24 hours, D-Day, you get on board that boat, has now dissolved into, well, we're hoping that most of them will be on board, you know, maybe by the end of the week. These are bold statements that fade away to nothing, day in, day out by this government.
It's almost like we're begging them to come aboard, aren't we? And, you know, I think we've got 20 on so far. Will we ever see it absolutely full? I mean, it has a capacity of 500 passengers or residents. I don't see that happening, frankly, because there is so much hand-wringing and shroud-waving over this. The idea that anyone could possibly claim, having crossed the channel in a leaky dinghy in stormy weather, that they've got a fear of water on a barge which doesn't move. I mean, these are preposterous and spurious allegations or...
lies is what they are. They're lying.
They're lying. But what is really quite surprising, is it not, Kevin, that it took the Daily Mail, a newspaper, to uncover the fact that there are systematic gangs of lawyers who are helping these people at huge profit to themselves to make up these lies. And they're inventing them almost like fantasy, and it's working because people are not having to be put on board the boats. I mean, I think that the government, which needs desperately to show a firm hand here, is losing traction almost completely. This is, unless they do something quickly and drastically, I do not think that the public will ever believe them again.
Robert Jenrick, the immigration minister, was on what they called the rounds yesterday. I was among the presenters who interviewed him. He indicated that the government was considering leaving the European Convention on Human Rights and therefore no longer under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights. At which point, if we did that, we could just start taking, planes could start taking off and going to Rwanda. Never mind about Ascension Island, we can go to Rwanda. Why don't they just do that? Because leaving the ECHR doesn't mean we completely abandon our long-standing and traditional commitment to human rights. We just have our own code. Why don't we do that? Rishi won't, though, will he? Because as I always say about that guy, he's never seen a globalist club that he didn't want to be a member of.
It's hard to disagree. And I mean, look, all the evidence points in that direction. What you've got in the Conservative Party today is a divided party on all sorts of issues, not least immigration, but also on green issues. You've got Zach Goldsmith now claiming that he's going to support the Labour Party over the question of ULEZ and other measures like exploiting North Sea oil and gas. This is an ungovernable party in an ungovernable political firmament. And Keir Starmer, if and when he becomes Prime Minister, is going to find it exactly the same. He's going to find all of these problems landing on his doorstep. The only difference is that he won't even bother to try and stand up against them. Even though Rishi isn't succeeding, at least he's pretending to.
This is what annoys me, Trevor. I don't think the Prime Minister is catching nearly enough flack. In fact, he's not catching any flack for the absurd gift to the French he made back in March, few months ago, of £500 million. £500 million to patrol their own beaches properly. I've never understood why we give France money to do the business of government in France, but we did. We got the square root of damn all for that. Ever since then, they've been coming across the channel at the rate of hundreds a day, usually more than a barge worth every single day. What did we get for that massive amount of money we gave to Monsieur Macron, the French president?
Well, I think we got what you were basically describing as Sweet Fanny Adams, and it was never going to be any different, Kevin. As I said at the beginning, we can bung as much money as we like to France, and they will pocket it very happily. But they're never going to stop the people who are leaving their shores because they're very happy to wave goodbye to them. And all of those images the other day of holiday makers on the beach near Calais as a boatload of migrants blatantly coming
weaved
out
among them.
Yeah, I mean that is a regular sight, and the police are not seen. They're all on holiday anyway.
Yeah.
The whole of the French police force is basically packed up and taken August off.
Well, that's what all of France does that. And a last point, very quickly, Trevor. So we have this commitment. We can't turn the boats back and tow them back to France. We can't do that. It's so dangerous. What is the difference of towing a boat back to France? You know, do a U-turn and/or helping it proceed to Britain. What's the difference?
Well, I think a lot of people would like to see the Bibi Stockholm filled with these 500 migrants.
Sail that to France.
Half a dozen tugs take them across to Calais. That would, I think, really put the whole issue on the front burner and need resolution. I mean, that would be very dramatic. In the view of about 95% of the British public, that would be regarded as good politics. You won't see anything like that.
Yes, but don't forget, so we should definitely tow that barge out of the Portland Harbour and take all 20 of its residents back to France. It is a fiasco, it really is. Great to talk to you, Trevor, though, as always. Thank you so much for your time. Trevor Kavanagh, the brilliant political columnist at The Sun.